Boom! Hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast, Season 4.
With your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out.
Boom! What's up, you guys? Byron Rodgers here again for another awesome episode of the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. I've got an honored guest here, as always, but man, you know, this has been an awesome project, man. So today we get to talk with Joe LaSorsa of LaSorsa and Associates. Finally, man, it's an honor to have you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, it's been a while. We've been talking about this, I think, for 2 years or something like that. So yeah, it's good to finally connect.
Heck yeah, man. And the funny thing is, like, with so many people that are on the podcast, like, that just happens, like, because we are EP agents, our time kind of isn't our own, you know? So like, whenever I'm signing on to like talk with somebody who is in the game doing the deed, we both know from the beginning, we'll get to this as soon as we can get to it. So it's fun. It's not weird.
Yeah. Glad it worked out, man.
Heck yeah. No, me too, for sure. So, I mean, your name is a name I've heard in my career, my entire EP career. When I worked in Cali, a little less, but then when I went to Florida and rebuilt my career there, I mean, you guys were the man for training and all kinds of things, you know? So there's a good bit of lineage there and everything else. You want to just maybe open that up so people understand where you come from and all that stuff, who they listening to? Yeah,
sure. So again, Joe LaSorsa, but my father was Joe LaSorsa, who started the business. He was Secret Service 76 to 96, got out, did a couple of years as a corporate security director, and then started his own company in 1998. About 2000, he started running that full time. And where he really kind of differentiated himself was he wanted to stay small. He wanted to do most of the work himself. He wanted to keep just a close knit. And so he wanted to do things different. You know, he wanted to focus on quality, wanted to focus on service, wanted to focus on the top tier, basically, of, you know, coming out of the Secret Service, let's provide that level. And that's where his focus was. And that's why we, you know, got that reputation growing from that point on. So that's where, you know, I've heard it all the time coming into the industry. Oh, Joe LaSorsa, I've heard a lot about you. And I'm like, well, you probably heard a lot about my dad, you know, when I was you know, in my early 20s, but it was great to hear that. And you know, I try to keep that going as well. And, you know, with training and everything else that we do, we try to, you know, just keep that bar high. We've grown a lot since I've been involved. And when I say I've been involved in the management side, I'll get to that in a minute. But since I've been involved in the management side of the company, we've grown about 60 times since 2012. So
60 times.
60, brother. Yeah.
That says something. That's worth investigating, man. That's
yeah, it's awesome. It's been crazy, but it's been awesome. So, I mean, we've grown a lot, but we've grown carefully. You know, we've grown very carefully. So, you know, it's been a, you know, skating uphill. You know what I mean? Trying to grow the right way. It's been great though.
That's awesome, man. It's interesting. Two things. One, my father was also in private security. He had the biggest private security company in the Bahamas as I grew up. I started the first kind of task force over there, and stuff like that. So I kind of grew up in the game as well. It's really interesting. Now, we tried to work together, but you know, working with family can be a thing for sure.
Oh, sure. That's actually how it kind of worked out with me and my dad. So when I got started, I was in high school, you know, doing clerical work, and unlicensed, just doing the stuff that I could do to learn the business. Like I said, reports and the clerical side of things, invoicing, whatever.
Yeah.
Once I got licensed when I was 18, I started working, but my dad had me working for other people mostly. And that's kind of what saved that, for us I was actually subcontracted out for other companies most of the time. So it wasn't like I was necessarily working, with him, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah. And then as I developed after the Marine Corps and I got more into management, he was kind of, trying to retire again, so to speak, it's kind of phasing himself out. And again, that's what kept that that distance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I definitely had more maturing to do when I started trying to work with my father. So maybe at this point we could maybe figure something like that out. But when I first started, man, it was very interesting. It was turbulent. It was definitely turbulent. So good on you guys for figuring that out, man. That's a win. That's a net positive for sure, man. That's awesome. And then you said 60 times growth. That's worth noting. Is there anything real quick before we kind of get into like your background and all that stuff that you would say from the hip is a good consideration for people who want to see that type of growth effectively, like the right way, so your company doesn't explode?
Right. So honestly, the way we did that was actually helping other people, and it sounds kind of backwards, but
sounds counterintuitive, but
it works. Yeah, I mean, it's right. Like trust the process. So. Right off the bat, our three, biggest contracts that we had in that growth was because I helped people out at some point, and then as they grew, they came back to us for help, and that's just how it worked out with the three biggest contracts that we had to initiate most of that growth. Mm-hmm. So, just being a good team player, working in the industry, there's so much work that everyone has going on that everyone needs help in some way. Mm-hmm. So, that was the big thing for us, and just doing it right. Like I said, just trying to get the right people with the right clients, trying to mix people around, match personalities, everything else. Don't force it. It's either going to work or it's not. So if you force it, it's not going to work.
Right.
And just focus on, you say it a lot, the rising tide lifts all ships, everyone thinks, I got to keep, everything, what I'm doing to myself and don't share it out there and everything else. Nah, brother. I think, the biggest thing that's helped us is to be open and helpful with other people. And that brings us that work. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I think there might be a new generation of EP leaders and agents that are really on that kind of less tribal, more uniting kind of mindset. Because I've heard that a lot. And then obviously, when you're sharing and working together, man, I'm sure, you guys have those values, you're trustworthy and things like that. And that makes those relationships work. And then lastly, it's like, I teach a lot of it when I talk about social dynamics in my school with the guys. It's like, it's counterintuitive, but the reality is that like business is the commerce of relationships. Mm-hmm. So relationship capital is like immeasurably valuable. That relationship will yield you, the dollars will come. So like, absolutely, what you're saying is this is really truly how you build something that's durable and that's lasting and that's ultimately valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I got a little theory on it. So I think that a lot of the kind of the older generation, if you will, of EP was primarily coming over from law enforcement careers, be it federal and state and what have you, and in those career pipelines, it is competitive and it's political, right? It's like you have to, make yourself better than the others to get promoted and everything else. And I just think that carried over into EP and the business side of things, where everyone just kind of, was directly competing with each other. Right. Because I see a lot of it with the younger guys that come out of the Marine Corps and stuff like this, that because obviously, we kind of gravitate towards our backgrounds, right? So I know I was a Marine. So, I see a Marine coming through my course and stuff, I'm, take them under my wing kind of thing. And I see it so much more with the younger generation where they're just so much more open to that. Versus, like I said, the older generation. I tell you a funny story, actually. One of the first times I helped somebody, I gave them a lot of information and I was like showing them how we do things. And my dad was like, "What are you nuts? Like, what are you doing? You're telling them how we run the
all the secret beans."
Like, he was mad at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, he's, helping him out. And he's like, why? So,
Yeah. Oh, that's funny, man. That's good stuff. No, that's awesome. I think that there's definitely something to be said about that, because in the Marine Corps, we're like one organism, teamwork is, and actually it's really funny, man, because that speaks to me, because my whole premise when it comes to social dynamics is environments where competition is valued over cooperation are environments of high attrition. And if you can get your teams, and if you can get auxiliary team members like the nannies and the house staff and the drivers and everyone to realize that cooperation is actually superior to competition, those are environments where we all win and our clients get better services and everyone lasts longer and everyone's protected. And so I see those parallels. I didn't even really know where it came from. I see those parallels in the way we were trained in the Marine Corps to the way that we organically want to do business. Mm-hmm. Anyone we can win on our side is a victory. It's a battle we don't have to have, and battles are expensive. That's good stuff, man. We're already dropping jewels on them, man. I love it. Already dropping nuggets. So first and foremost, who are you at your core? Who is Joseph LaSorsa, the man behind the work? You know what I'm saying?
So me, I grew up in a family. I had two older brothers, and that really shaped, a lot of who I am. I was, one of the tougher kids, because I was always beaten up as a kid, with that
you're like a large human
with them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're not small.
Yeah, I had to keep up with them. And so that kind of shaped who I was in terms of being more on the protector side of things. Because, like I said, I had to keep up with them, and it made me grow. And then a big thing with me is, the family piece of helping each other, just looking out for each other and keeping everybody, happy, and then just on the same path. Me and my brothers, we talk a lot, and we help each other out a lot. They're in separate industries. They're in the maritime industry, but we help each other out a lot. So, that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm a father now. I've got 3 daughters. So that's, really grown in terms of, the protector aspect, just intrinsically, and, growing and trying to develop them into young ladies is very, very, very challenging. And that keeps me learning, keeps me nimble.
Evolving.
Yeah. On the professional side, I grow and learn about myself every day. I actually just was having a conversation with somebody about that it's like any relationship, you learn about yourself in the process, and it helps you define yourself and helps you, redefine your goals, reframe, who you are. And so I've learned a lot about myself. I enjoy being generous, fair, and that helps a lot, but it also hurts a lot in business, So, I say anybody that knows me will appreciate those characteristics. I don't put that out there. This is the first time I've actually talked about, a lot of that openly, but I don't put a lot of that out there. So anybody that doesn't know me, they don't know that side of me. So it's a little confusing, as you can see on social media, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Dude, no, that's awesome. No, smart man. I love all that. And it honestly goes back to what you stated earlier, about being able to work with people and things like that. Those values of being fair and being generous seem counterintuitive, but those are the values that make people want to do business with you, mm-hmm. that help you form the relationships that make business really beneficial and work well, and then you get to look in the mirror and you're in right standing with yourself, and you're just a better human being. That calm confidence that that I see in you and that people chase. This is a lot of where I feel like a lot of it comes from, is having those values, man. That's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. Biggest thing for me is, all my guys, is my family taken care of? Are my guys taken care of? And can I sleep at night? I can't live with doing something unethical, sneaking a little bit of money here. I just can't. I can't do that.
Can't do it either. It's cringy.
No, it just eats me up,
And it catches up.
I'd much rather, it's happened so many times where people actually are surprised by it, and I'm almost disappointed in humanity that they're surprised by it. Like this, in context, I renegotiated a rate, and so we got about 15% more. And I paid the guys that difference, right? And they they didn't know. They had no idea. So half of them hit me up and were like, hey, you overpaid me. And I was like, no. The rates got renegotiated and that's what it is. And they were like, man, nobody would do that. Nobody does that. Nobody, you would just keep the money, And I was like, really? Like, no, like that's, it's just you guys are doing the work and you guys, your good job got us the higher rates. So like, that's how it goes. Yep. And so, I saw it as fair and the right thing to do. And they were blown away by it. And that's almost disappointing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's like, wow, you're like a battered spouse that doesn't sound good before. Yeah. No, I dig it, man. And when people start cutting corners and do shady stuff, like I have a saying, the garbage always takes itself out, man. Like,
yeah, I like that. I like that.
Freaking comes to roost. It always does. I don't care how cool.
Yeah, eventually.
BA, yeah. You can be the most BA dude in the world. That stuff will catch you at some point. How would you define executive protection in your own words? Like, what is it? What is this thing we're all trying to do?
Yeah. So, and actually we just had a conversation about this, and it's it's balancing, the security side with enabling the itinerary or whatever they're trying to do, right? Enabling business.
Nice. That's clean.
Security and enabling business. That's the two sides of it that is what executive protection is. Now, when you're doing other security services, you're just focused on the security piece. You're, right. Security, your corporate security, you just have your roles and you enact those and that's it. The complication, the dynamics of executive protection is we are there to do that security side, but enable business, So that's what it is. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
That's clean, man. That's outstanding. Good to go. I dig it. Tactical background. What's your background, man? The question they always like to ask when you finally get alone in the chase vehicle, So what's your background, bro?
Yeah. So growing up, I was always, into firearms, into fighting, all that kind of stuff, all the hard skill type stuff. Right. So, growing up, wrestled, mixed martial arts, all that kind of stuff. I was a competitive shooter through high school. I always knew I wanted to be a Marine ever since I was 7. And my dad took me to Camp David and I saw the Marines there, and I mistakenly called them soldiers. And my dad corrected me and it was like, no, those are the Marines. And I was like, you got it.
We're good. Got it. Yeah.
So I always knew I'd end up in the military. So after high school, I wanted to enlist. And funny story, actually, I probably ran into like the one honest recruiter that had ever existed, because when I went to him, I had a scholarship for college and I was already registered and enrolled to go to college. And I was like, no, I just want to enlist. And he's like, no, you're in college. You got to go through an OSO, an officer selection office, And I was like, well, dang, I'm like ready to sign up right now. And he's like, no. Go talk to the OSO. I mean, that guy could have signed me up. Like, honestly, I was like ready to roll.
Yeah.
And so, I ended up doing that. So I did what's called PLC, which was 6 weeks, junior year, 6 weeks, senior year of OCS, graduated college, got commissioned. I was a infantry officer. And then I got into light armor reconnaissance, which was pretty cool. I'm sure you're familiar, the 8-wheel tank deals. And so we had a different, mission essential task list, but still, infantry based.
Yep.
That was awesome. I loved it. When I had my girls, just time to move on, get out, so it was quick 4 years, and then got out of there. Got right back into what I was doing, more on the management side though. So that's the, quick little background of the tactical side of, where I'm coming,
where you came from. That's what's up, man. No, funny. I also ran into a pretty honest recruiter too, man. It was, I'm in my cafeteria and I'm like, I walk up to the Army recruiter and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, can you just tell me the truth? I was like, who's better, Marine Corps or the Army? And he's like, well, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I want it to be hard. I want it to suck. I want people to look at me and know that I'm in the hardest enlisted service. And I want it to be a challenge every single day. And he is like, looks at me. He looks to the right, looks to the left. And he's like, you should probably just join the Marine Corps. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And I walked over and got that contract going, man. That's, recruiters are recruiters now, I experienced the other side of it when my recruiter, who initially had me thinking he was, the god of war, after I got back from my deployments and, survived all that, I'm bouncing and he walks in with a bunch of Marines and he's like, "Hey, Byron." And I'm like, "Oh, Hopkins." He's like, "I'm going to war finally for the first time." He's like a staff sergeant or something. And I'm like looking at him like, "You?"
Yeah.
Really? And he asked me the boot question, like, "So what's combat like, man?" And I was just like, "Is this happening?"
That's funny.
So, anyway, good times, man. That's what's up, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, something to think about when I talk about people's backgrounds is, you ask them what their background is, and they tell you. But I ask a lot of things when they tell me, like, say they were a Marine, be like, "So why the Marines?" And I ask that question, like you just explained, your choice, your decision-making process. And I think that's a huge part of it. You know what I mean? It's like, why did you do that? I think that's so big. That's such a big part that I want to know about somebody, not just where you come from. Why were you a cop? Why were you a Marine? Why were you Army? But, that you were a cop, that you were Army, whatever. I want to know why. I want to know why you chose that,
Yeah, no, that's huge. It tells you so much about their values and who they really are on a deep level. That's intelligent. I'm gonna have to take that one. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to use that one. That's good, man.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think about the EP forum? You were one of our speakers. I had a great time, man. It was an honor just meeting you and mixing it up for a few minutes and stuff like that, man. But what'd you think of that event?
I thought it was one of my favorite events, honestly. It was just so personal with the crowd. And I think that's what's missing with so many of these conferences and everything else, which I get the format that the big conferences have to put out there. I mean, I understand that. But what I really enjoyed about the forum was just that much more, just in the mix, intimate with the crowd. They're asking questions and you're just much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like low key, just having a conversation that like discussion, basically, versus, like a formatted script on a panel and it's so rigid. It was just so raw, like it was awesome. I loved it. I freaking loved it. Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. No, I loved it for the same reasons. The crowd participation, the fact that we were downloading questions from the crowd while we were up there and freestyle on all the topics and stuff. I think it was great, man. So y'all listening, don't miss the EP forum. It's coming up again. We're gonna do it again. It's gonna be awesome. So sweet. Okay. So what are you up to specifically now in the game, man? Now in the EP game? Update.
Yes, now I'm just very heavily involved in management. One of the things that I'm actually working on is trying to let go of it a little bit, since we've grown so much. And I'm a very hands-on person. The limitation of our company is me. I can't do enough. You know what I mean? It's been this way for about 2 years. Yeah. So it's just it's all coming up to me and just choking there. I just have a hard time letting stuff go. Every time I let something go and it's not done the way I want it, it's my fault. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it. So what I'm doing now is trying to, keep growing the business, keep managing everything, but, doing it effectively with that limitation. I'm trying to figure that out now. So I manage everything. I manage executive protection. We do investigations. We do, we have a little bit of guard work going on critical infrastructures and other things. I do all the training. That's my kind of baby. I do all of that. So, a little bit of everything. And that's a question I had recently was, what's your favorite thing about the job? And for me personally, it's something else, somewhere else, for somewhere else, somebody else every day, and I love that part of it. So I get to pick and choose what I'm involved in.
Heck yeah. No, that's a huge perk of moving up in the ladder from agent to management to PPO or company owner. I would 100% agree with you on that, man. It's like you can kind of hop in and out where you want. What would you say then about the journey, for guys that, are coming from being that agent and are moving into management? Like what type of considerations and what type of changes did you experience that maybe you can help give some tips on? What would you say about that?
Yeah, big thing with going from, like the tactical to strategic side of things, agent to management is just paying attention to all those issues that you saw as the tactical agent and trying to fix them as management, like just like I said, don't just, kick that, ball down the road, like, fix the problem, just if you had issues, if you had some friction, if you didn't like things, be the better person when you're in the management role. Yeah. And one thing I'll say that is some really good advice that I had is whatever position you're in, you got to look beyond it and learn the one above you. It's too late to learn it when you're there, so when you're in a position, learn your position, but you have to learn the position above you. You have to, keep striving to learn all those processes because, eventually you're going to be there. If you're not, hey, it's fine. You want to stay where you're at. Some people just coast, whatever. But, if you're looking to move up, constantly have that mindset that where am I at? I know my job. I'm good at my job. Now I need to learn the one above me, So pick brains, ask questions, have those unofficial mentors that you just watch and follow and learn from, but learn the step above. And that way, when you're there, you already know it. And then you can learn the step above and just keep that process going.
And make a smooth transition. That's great advice. I would add one little cheat code to that too. Like learn how to serve that person above, man. Mm-hmm. Like learn what they need. You can make them look like a freaking alley-oop all day. Yep. Like just learn how to serve them. And that, I feel like that greases that process a lot.
Yeah. And that right there goes along with everything, client side, vendor side. If you're a subcontractor, you got to, a great phrase. I say it all the time. I said it in the EP forum too. It's think like your boss, think like your boss. And that's what Paul White said to me when I was just getting started. And, you got to make it easy with everything that you do. I always make the joke when, people submit things to me, like their invoices, and they all title them Lasorsa invoice, So it's like, I get like hundreds of those a year. And I'm like, I can't track these things. I got to spend hours of my time relabeling them and things like this. So just make it easy for the person above you. Like you said, I think that that right there, that little nugget is not only that, but just in every context, make it easy for your clients to pay you. When you submit an invoice, do it the right way, have all the information they need, think one step ahead. I can't tell you how many times when I've submitted a first invoice to a new client or contractor or whatever, and I submit everything they need. Like I submit the invoice, I submit my W-9, I submit all that stuff all at once. Yeah. They're like, wow, thanks. I didn't have to ask for anything. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm trying to make your job easy. Like that's exactly what you're talking about. But I think like I said, it's huge in that aspect, but that translates into, across the board. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Gaining that relationship. If you're easy to work with, man, people will fight to keep you there, like they will fight for you. You'll build that army, man. That's
absolutely.
That's good stuff, man. You mentioned your training is your baby too, man. What would you say you're most proud of, or any differentiators? I know you guys do solid stuff. I've been, hearing about your guys' stuff for years, but like, is there anything that you want people to know that like, hey, this is what we do good, and this is what, you should come and try to learn from us,
Yeah. So, the biggest thing that I'm proud of is the guys that get out of guys and girls that get out of the courses and they say that they put everything that we talk about into use right away. Like it's just that realistic, relevant material and the content that is what they need when they need it. I pull the group, I talk to everybody in class, and I figure out where they are, what they want to be, et cetera. And I just give them a little bit of guidance each, and I try to give them everything they need. And I tell you, it's something where when I go to a lot of training, I've been through a lot of training, and I don't get that. I don't get everything I need. I go to a course and I don't get the report templates for, an investigations course. I don't get the invoices. I don't get that. I go to an EP course and I don't know the compliance and regulations. I don't know how to do taxes in Florida on EP. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I didn't learn any of that. I had to learn it all myself. So now when I teach something, I teach those things. I teach what I wanted to know coming into the game. I teach that. And it's just so, just raw and real. And I think students really appreciate that. And that's my favorite thing is when they come back and they're like, man, I can't believe I waited so long to go to your course. I learned everything that I needed to know. Not, I shouldn't say everything, but you know what I mean? Like they just, I learned all this material that I just was able to put into effect right away. And it just, gets them a step above, they don't have to reinvent the wheel, So I think that's something, that's why training is my baby. I love that. That's my favorite thing. So I'm at every course, and I really have a handle on training for that reason. So I can be involved in that process.
Heck yeah. No, that's awesome, man. I think that's, there's something special to be said for having your trainer being an industry guy who's actively doing EP and actively understands what he's looking for when he hires people, what, is actually happening in the game right now. There's, we can learn a lot from, a lot of people, but I really see a lot of value in that, and us being able to bring a lot of value to students, being that you're running multiple details at any given time, you're dealing with problems in the field at any given time, and what those students need in the game right now. That's valuable, I think.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I go through the course material all the time. I change it all the time. And I just look at it and I'm like, do I use this? Is it something that I could benefit from knowing? And if it's a no, I take it out. And if it's a yes, maybe I elaborate on it. But I mean, that's that threshold, that test that I apply to the information that I give. And, and one thing that I feel very strongly about with that information is I tell students, challenge the information. When people are telling you things, challenge it. Ask the question why should be in your head. And I think so many trainers, they don't want that. They just want, to spit the information, and they want, the whole class to just take it. And I want that question to be asked. And if you can't answer it, if what I'm telling you doesn't automatically answer that question, ask why. I will not feel, slighted, or, I won't get defensive. Why are you, why are you saying that? I'm going to tell you. And I think that that's something that I encourage with students, is just to, challenge information that's out there, pressure test it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work,
Yeah, man. No, I agree with you 100%, 100%. And that's the job of a good instructor, man. Like, that information's got to hold up in our heads and in our lives after we leave the classroom. Like murder dogma. Like, it just doesn't have any place in what we do, man. And in learning, really, in my opinion. So no, I dig that, man. And the truth doesn't really have to be defended. You just present it, and it resonates. Yeah. I agree 100%. What are you looking for when you're looking at an EP agent on paper or in an interview, for all those guys trying to get in the game? Like, what values and different things are you looking for in that individual?
Yeah. So it's really just dependent on the type of job. I'll say, we have a lot of different things that we do, but in general, for an EP position, a well-rounded person that is, fit for that client. But one of the things I ask them is why? Why do you want this job? Why do you want to work in EP? What motivates them to take, such a challenging job? What motivates them to work for this particular job application, this job description, this client? And that why piece of it, it's my favorite freaking question. I ask everybody why. So that's what I look for, is how do they answer that question? Why? I need more money in my current job. No, that's not really what I'm looking for. I want somebody that's motivated for the right reasons. That's always a big reason. That's why we're here. That's why we're working. But when I ask those questions, that's really what I look for. I mean, you can be great on paper, but if that why piece of it isn't there, it's not gonna go well. It's not.
It's not. So, you're gonna get burnt out. You're gonna make mistakes. Your attitude's gonna go to crap. You're gonna get eaten alive. It'll be short lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And then hopefully the contract's not short-lived. So yeah, no, that's good stuff, man. Have a good why, because as they say, he who understands why can endure anyhow. I didn't say it. One of them smart dudes from the past said it, but it's good stuff. That. I dig it, man. Best, worst detail, man. Let's start with the worst one, then we'll go to the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're actually exact opposites in terms of the dynamic that I'll talk about here with the best and worst. I think my worst detail was one where the client was just, belligerent and difficult and just abrasive with whatever we were trying to do. Okay. He didn't want us. It was more of like a, board, a directive and just didn't want us there. And it was just so difficult to do our jobs. And, because of that, there was just a lot of friction, and it just, deteriorated. And we eventually just dropped the client because it was just too hard, moving people through it. Nobody wanted to work it. The environment was toxic, and, life's too short, man. If you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. If you're not enjoying it, yeah. You know what I mean? So, and so when in that detail, that was just the worst one, because we were working it, but we would just want it out. And, it's not a, sexy thing to talk about, but it's pretty boring in terms of like the worst detail I've ever had. But honestly, it was the worst detail I've ever had, because I didn't want to be there. There's some things that happen on details that were really, really bad. But overall, the detail was good, and so if I talk about specific experiences, sure. But in terms of the overall detail, that one, I tell you, it's like I have nightmares about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
it's soul sucking.
Yeah, man. It was like, I gotta go do this today, Mm-hmm. So it was rough. It paid well. It was a good job for us. It put a lot of people to work, but it was just not enjoyable, man. It was just one of those things where I was like, how how can we get out of this? How can we, make this? I didn't even want to give it a referral to somebody, there's an ask for every chair, as I would say, but I didn't even want to call up and be like, hey, I'm stepping out of the detail. You want in? I couldn't even bring myself to do that,
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I get it. I've seen a few details like that where it's just like, no, I can't even hand this to my friends, man. And it's true. It can become soul sucking for sure when you have that negative energy and that there's always a problem happening. And dude, I completely understand what you're talking about. And I think one of my main, something I guess guys can look forward to, something I've experienced is, and that I've really come to value, is fighting your way to a place where you don't have to accept every contract, like when you finally get yourself maybe as an agent, if you're chasing the pager and working for different companies and you have enough work coming in that you're able to pick from, to where you don't have to accept every contract. And then as a company, as a PPO, trying to get yourself to a place where you only really accept the clients where your values align and you can really get behind them. What would you say about that, man?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually what I was going to say for like the best detail I ever worked was, it was even a smaller one. It was, we were 1, 2, very rarely 3 people. I mean, I've had huge details that we've worked, with other clients, but that doesn't quantify the best, in my opinion. That one where it was with this one client where we just got along very well. He's a great dude. I mean, it was just, good, just wholesome, just awesome person. You look up to him, they're super intelligent, just good person.
Yeah.
And so you enjoyed working for him. And then we had total buy-in with him. I mean, we got whatever we needed, as long as we were able to justify it. It was just so smooth. And it felt so good, when your client just trusts you like that and just lets you do what you need to do and looks to you for anything that has to do with security or logistics or whatever. They just look to you and let you do it. And they trust you. That trust is just such a, it gets you on such a high, it's an awesome thing. So that's what I've appreciated the most out of working with clients, and particularly that one client was just that level of trust, it just makes the whole detail work better. The whole team, is just, the morale is up, the energy's up. We enjoy working for them, and then it's just easy to work for them. And it's a pleasure, it's like, I always tell clients when they say, "Oh, would you take a bullet for me?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not my job. My job is to make sure that the bullets don't get shot." But like that guy, I was like, "Man, I might take a bullet for this guy." Got me going for a minute, So
yeah, no, I agree, man. That's beautiful. I have clients like that now where I'm just like, I'll serve you guys as long as I'm in this game, man. Because that when you get that buy-in, those values align, there's some security there. Dude, I'd have to agree with you. I'm so glad I got to experience that, because I did go a lot of my career just grinding it out, working certain client demographics that don't really want us there, and like kind of just having to focus on my why and personal pride in doing the work rather than my enjoyment of doing the work or relationship with the client. And so, yeah, man, I'm finally experiencing what you're talking about now for the last couple of years. And that's the great white whale, as I like to say, man. You get those people, you treat them good, man. You treat all of them good, but it's an enjoyable treat them good, man. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
IYO. What does that mean, dude?
In your opinion.
Oh, yeah. Got you. Oh. In your opinion, what are some of the issues in the industry that you'd like to address?
Yeah, so the best and worst part of the industry is the people, right? I mean, that's just the commonality of it. People. Yeah. So the best and worst things come from people. The best stuff is working with good people. The worst things are working with bad people, right?
Yep.
So that's always going to be there, and that's with every industry. So I mean, I can talk about the ethics side of it and the dirty business and everything else. But I mean, that's in every industry. What I would say the biggest issues in our specific industry, it's twofold. It's the lack of standards, and then one of the good things about the industry is the lack of standards. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. So I had a sit down with James Cameron in Vegas, and we're talking about his thing that he's pushing, and I brought up my concerns with it. Like I said, I think that the lack of standards is a problem, and I said I think that the pushing for standards is going to create a lot of problems. And it's complex, right? I mean, I think that if we are
Yeah.
if we are human service, what differentiates us? Well, how do clients look at us? There's price and there's the service side. So they look at the quality of it, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the quality, the value. Yeah, man.
So now if you're like, okay, now everything's standardized, it waters the service side down and it elevates the price in terms of how clients look at you, So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for a lack of standard in the industry, because it actually allows, discerning clients to pick who they want versus like, oh, they do the standard, because I could see this happening on the corporate side where it's going to be make sure, all the respondents, meet the standard and then pick the lowest price. Right. I mean, can't you see that?
Just like that. Yeah. 100%. Oh yeah. They're good. They're, they have all their standards and stuff like that. And then not give it a second look.
Right.
And then when those guys underperform, looking at the industry as a whole, as if we're all that bad, because, well, these guys are the standard and these guys suck. You know what I mean? And then looking at all of us like we're kind of the same because that's the standard.
Yeah. So, I think that's something we got to figure out as an industry. How do we want to approach that? I think it's good that they're pushing it. I think it's good that, it's out there. I just think it needs to be done, carefully, very, very, methodically. And I think it is. I had a good conversation with them. I like a lot of the people that are on the board and I respect their opinions and everything else. So I think I'm hopeful for it, but I think that, one of the biggest, if I could say one of the biggest, issues in the industry is the lack of good service that's out there that just makes it harder for the rest of us.
Yep.
I've been with probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 new clients in the past couple of years that, we had to overcome the previous team that was there. We had to overcome the baseline that the client had. And it was just so difficult. It's like, man, no, we don't do it that way.
I'm not going to beat you. You're safe now. It's the new relationship.
Right.
It's like when you get a dog from the dog pound and it's like, and you're like, dude, chill out. Like, you want some food? Like, we're cool. I'm going to take care of you, Yeah. I've completely experienced the same thing. When you start giving them, you start just doing the job and they're like, wow, what's this? Oh, wow. What's this? Okay, cool. And you're like looking at them like, man, I'm sorry for whatever you experienced before.
Yeah. Like, man, that must have been
rough. I understand your hesitancy when we had our initial conversation, No, that's good. That's interesting. And I agree wholeheartedly with the standards thing. Like, I thrive in chaos. It's one of the things that anytime I see there's some kind of a lot of latitude and stuff to make moves, that's kind of like where I kind of really thrive, because I can find my way really good. And then I can set a higher standard and stuff like that. I think that the standards thing is good. I hope that the standards thing could maybe afford us some type of more respect and capabilities and things like that in terms of what the tools we're allowed to use and stuff like that. Maybe we can get some more respect as private security operators. That's what I'm hopeful for. But at the same time, I do hope also that it'll raise the bar so that those who are just kind of like really not making us look good will get flushed out, or they'll elevate, or they'll evolve. But ultimately, when we add any type of rigidity to a system or anything like that, there's always going to be like a downside that, when those left, right lateral limits start to be like, this is the thing, I start being like, okay, let's make sure the thing is really, really, really holistic and well thought out, because it can really limit us in a lot of ways too. So I'm just kind of like in the middle of it and will do what I can to I don't like to be referred to as anything other than a contributor, man. I'm just trying to contribute, with this podcast, crystallize and canonize your guys's value, to our industry, so that people can learn from us for ages from these episodes and make valuable contributions. And, that's what we're doing, man. Heck yeah. That's a good take on it. What is one message you'd like to give to people looking to get into the industry, guys looking to get into the game, man? What would you like to say to them?
Yeah, just keep an open mind with everything. Look at where you want to be and, kind of carve your own path. Don't look at what somebody else did and think that that's going to apply to you. That's something that I find is a big pitfall. People see somebody and, I'll take you, for instance, the way you've done it, the way you built it, that works for Byron, but if somebody else, if Joe LaSorsa tries to do what Byron does, it's going to flop. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to look at what's out there, keep an open mind, get ideas, learn what's good from some people, learn from what's good from everybody, and create your own thing, and don't get too focused on what other people are doing. Just do what's right by you. And that genuineness is what works. So, people coming in, don't get jaded, because that's what happens a lot too, is people think it's one thing and then they get in and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Well, you didn't have a realistic perspective when you got in, so you got to understand, the reality of it. So like I said, keep an open mind. Don't get tunnel vision with one thing that you see in the industry. Look at the broader perspective of it, and just learn. Like I hate to say that, like just learn, but learn from everybody. Learn from everybody that's out there. I always tell people, you don't have to go have an official mentor, and it's very awkward. Hey, will you be my mentor? Like, no, just have unofficial mentors. Just find people in the industry that are good at something, and just learn from them about that piece of it. And just keep an open mind with everything, man.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%, man. Bruce Lee, everything. Absorb what's useful, disregard what's useless, add what is essentially your own. I think I agree. It's a pitfall that someone will try and emulate someone else. It's like, no, dude, you are the only you this universe has ever seen. You got to do it your way for it to be impactful. Take a little bit from this guy, take a little bit from that guy, and do your thing, because only you can do it. Do the best, your version. Oh, yeah. I agree 100%. And then I see the same thing. Guys get ideas in their head of what they think the game's going to be like, and then it's not that way. And then then they have all this cognitive dissonance, and they're disappointed. It's like, one, you got a snapshot of the game here, bro. There's like so much stuff we can do. There's so many different client demographics, and he is the beginning of the experience. So calm down. But then, two, it is this. Like I say, it's more than just a job, but it really is, you're in a service related industry. Protecting someone is so much more than a 9 to 5. It's if you really don't have that protection to protect your DNA or believe in the ethos of this and can do it during the good and the bad times, then this game will burn you out. Your heart will get tired, and you'll get jaded. And then those guys, we don't want anywhere near our details,
100%. That's why I asked that question. Why, is why do you want this job? Why do you want, to work in the protection industry? Why do you want this particular job? What about this job description made you, go for it? Like that why piece of it is exactly what you're talking about, So good stuff.
No, that's huge. And it can't be private jets and glory shots. You're going to learn real quick. That's good, man. I love it. Good stuff, man. Last question, and then we'll go into our closing questions. What changes have you seen recently in the industry, and what direction do you believe, the industry is going in? What do you think's coming?
Yeah. So with COVID, it's just become leaner. I think that there's a lot of things that were, obviously shut down, and they're just going to slowly come back online, or maybe not even come back online, It's frustrating, right? The way that we did things, the way that we were operating, obviously just, got revamped, reframed. And so those are the biggest, obvious changes. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that I've had trouble with a lot of our guys is just clients expecting more. They're expecting more from us, because like when we went from, travel to more on the estate security side, now it's much more, their life, like there's not like all this travel support. You're not on the run all the time doing a million things. It's just like the daily life that we're supporting, and they expect more from us on that side of it. And so, just got to learn the clients, got to have that right fit, be helpful. Like I said, it's security and enabling business. How do we enable business? We have to just help them out as much as possible using technology, being familiar with technology. I can't tell you how many different, like the Zoom applications, WebEx, all these other things that just can't get thrown at us nowadays. We got to be good at it. So I think the, how do I say it? The versatility of agents has expanded. The need for versatility has expanded.
Yep.
And it's something that I think guys need to be aware of. They need to be, they shouldn't be, an RST person anymore, an EP travel agent anymore. They need to be an RST travel agent and whatever else needs to be done. You know what I'm saying?
100%. And the whole, like, I don't do technology thing. It's like, dude,
yeah.
If you're going to be in this game, you're going to have to learn how to use, like, the 8 apps we all use. And, you're going to have to learn how to do all the stuff, man. Like that, that's not okay anymore. So yeah, I definitely see more technology being used. I definitely agree with you. I've seen that shift from, the movement agent having to realize, we just have more work as far as the residences and stuff like that. So yeah, I completely agree with you, man. And it's cool. And I feel like it's a good time though, too. There's been a lot of expansion and a lot of people that didn't think they needed EP or kind of turn their nose up to it, kind of starting to be like, maybe I should have some protection. And I feel
definitely
like
expanding, definitely growing. Absolutely. I think that, look at the job posts. There's somebody asked me, is there a lot of, is there enough work out there? Well, I mean, there's work if you know where to look, right? I mean, there's tens of job posts. If you just put in executive protection to LinkedIn, I mean, everybody's hiring,
Mm-hmm. No, 100%, man. I love it. That's good stuff. Favorite quote, mantra, saying that you like to go by?
Yeah, it depends on what we're talking about, but I'll say, know enough to know you don't know, right? It's like just that whole concept of, always learning, know that you don't know everything. And I think that that's something that I've seen in my professional career been such a hindrance to some people, is they don't learn from people because they think they know or know it already. So I could do things very, very, very well.
Yeah.
I see you doing it. I'm a student. I'm looking at you. I'm like, hey, how are you doing that? What are you doing? What are you using? I'm like, there's always something to learn. And I think that's a huge, actually, I go back to what I talked about in the beginning with my brothers. I was the youngest of 3 brothers, and I learned from them growing up. I learned from their mistakes, a lot. So I didn't make their mistakes, and I think that's just carried over into it is, you got to know what you know and know what you don't know. Right.
Yeah, man. No, I agree 100%. I heard a quote of like last month that blew my mind. It's like, what's most dangerous is what you think you know. Yeah. Because if you're wrong about that, and I don't remember who said it or how they said it, but that was the principle.
Well, yeah, I got you. I love it. I mean, that's, I can't stand it when people, it's like, oh no, I saw one of the trainers I follow, he posted a new course. Yeah. And this guy, comments right away. He's like, why do I need to take that course? It's like,
you're already wrong. You're already wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
That mentality. And you can hear it in people's linguistic choices, even when they talk about what they think they know, like it's some kind of definite, and I've had conversations like this too. And I was talking to one of my good buddies and I was like, I think the difference between me and a lot of people is that I know, it's not that I know nothing like Aristotle, but it's like, I am not sure, I know that I know a good way of doing it, but I know that way is always going to be evolving. And so I stay very respectful of the fact that like my information right here, this crystallized little thing I have, it's going to need to upgrade. So I always I'm always like open, I think that's a mentality that serves so much.
Yeah. No matter what we're doing, it's a way, not the way, right?
Exactly.
That's the way I like to describe it is everything that we do, how we do it is a way, not the way. It's a way. And like you said, it's a way right now,
Right.
It's kind of funny. Actually, I had a guy take my course like the 3rd time. He takes it every couple of years. Yeah. And he's like, I keep coming back because you keep changing things. And he was like saying it in like a frustrated way.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, of course, of course I'm changing things. He's like, yeah. So I mean, that's what you got to do, man.
No, 100%. And it's good, dude. Like you go to a training, like, cause you went to a training once in your EP career. With some of the stuff that I'm coming out with, I think I'm going to make that certificate good for a specific amount of time, maybe, because we should recert. We should make sure that we're staying fresh on our training. It's not like a once upon a time you took a training from a cool school and now you're a made man for your whole career. Right. I think there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And a habit that you would suggest people look into, just a habit for life or a habit for being a better protector or just a better person?
Yeah. Self-assess. That's something that you know, I got to do this a lot. You know, I got to look at what I'm good at, and it's particularly what I'm not good at. What's something where I can improve? Because one of the things that I think we all tend to do is we like what we like and we like what we're good at. You know, so, and we don't want to train the things that we're not good at. We don't want to read about the things that we're not good at because we like doing what we're good at. So a huge thing, kick that I'm on right now is just, you know, putting away all like the gun magazines and you know, trying to read books on, you know, the personality stuff and all kinds of other, you know, human interactions. Cause I'm short with people. I don't like people, you know? So like, I know I'm not good at that. I want to be better in the sales side of things. Yeah. You know, it's, you know, you got to self-assess. And I've seen me grow a lot in probably about a year and a half, 2 years since I've been doing it. Just branching out and, you know, being friendlier with people, being more interested in people, because I knew that was a weakness I had. So, I mean, just give yourself an honest self-assessment. What am I good at? But particularly, what am I not good at? And then focus on those things, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I think a theme we've been talking about throughout this interview is really humility, man. You know, humility, staying open. And I think what's counterintuitive about it is that humility is like a superpower that actually gives birth to true confidence, because confidence comes from competence. And the only way for you to have that is have those experiences with yourself where you're learning what you really can and can't do. You know what you know, and you know that you don't know everything. And I think that's really what makes guys like you so effective in this industry and makes us all better, man. That's good stuff. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that.
No, 100%, dude. I'm glad we're having these combos, man. It's good stuff. There's so much good stuff in here, bro. For him who has ears to hear, let him hear. There's so much like good stuff that's in here, you know, for people to take home, man. How would you like to be remembered? Last question.
As someone who helps people, you know, as someone who helped people, I can make all the money in the world. Nobody's going to care about that. You know, I want to be remembered as somebody who helped people. You know, hey, that guy helped me out. You know, like that an honest, genuine, you know, generous person. You know, I think that that's what makes me feel the best when somebody hits me up and is like, hey man, you know, you helped me. You never asked for anything. You didn't expect anything. You just helped me. And he's like, I appreciate it. And that's like, you know, I'm just on cloud nine after that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what, you know, I'm going to make what I need. I'm going to be fine on the business side, but I want other people to feel that genuineness and that I'm helping them. I can't say it enough. I think that's something that, you know, keeps me straight, keeps me a good person. I look at my girls, you know, I want them to think of me that way, you know, that I'm helpful, I'm helping people, you know, I'm always out to help people. Yeah. No,
I see it, man. It's a feeling, it's a drive. It's difficult to articulate. And I had to completely, like, there's nothing like when someone says, hey, I got this job because of you, or, hey, I was able to execute because of you. Being able to empower people to do those things, like the money and all the other stuff, like, it's just, it's not even close to the feeling you get when someone really looks you in the eyes and is like, hey man, thank you for that. I completely agree with you, man. That's awesome. And I know that that's how you'll be remembered, man, because what ends up happening is over time, character is what's shown, your pattern, you know, your algorithm by which you make the decisions and why you make them. You know, it ultimately is always revealed. We always see those things over time, man. And you've already done so much, man. So it's definitely been an honor to have you on the podcast, on the show, have these convos, man. And heck yeah, brother. It's an honor, man. Heck yeah. And then the last question is, what are you up to these days and where can people find you, brother?
So I'm bouncing around all the time. So, you know, it's pretty cool. I just ran into a student, he was on a detail in Palm Beach and so was I. We kind of just crossed into each other, ran into each other, you know, so I'm always bouncing around. I'm probably going to hit, you know, over 200 days this year since COVID. So I'm all over the place, but you know, it's easy to find me if you look at social media, Google Joe LaSorsa. I mean, you can find me anywhere. Very easy to get in contact with. Just be patient. If you try to get in contact with me, I just ask for that. I mean, it might take me a few days to get back to you. I got to kind of triage what's going on, so, but yeah, very open. If anybody wants to reach out, like I said, not easy to, or not hard to find. Right.
Nice.
So look up Joe LaSorsa, you'll find me. And yeah.
Nice. And then send over any links you have for your website, social media and stuff like that. I'll put it in the show notes. People can go follow you on your socials, so.
Good deal.
Heck yeah, brother. Well, thank you, man. I'm looking forward to doing more cool stuff this year. Oh, it's been an honor having you as one of our master instructors for the master's class. Y'all, if you haven't gotten in there, get in there, learn from Joe LaSorsa. He's doing awesome stuff in person. You can learn from him in that course as well, from the comfort of your own home. And he's just all around a good dude doing some good stuff for the industry. So it's an honor to be connected. Thanks again for coming, man.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Yo, if you're a private security professional wanting to take your game to the next level, go to executiveprotectiontrainingday.com to check out my personal success package for private security professionals. Check it out, executiveprotectiontrainingday.com. And remember, y'all, hard skills do save lives, but soft skills get you paid. Boom. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can, because it makes all of these things possible. Thanks for those contributions. Yo, and before we go, I got a shout out to the sponsors, starting out with Primary Weapon Systems, PWS. They truly are the evolution of the rifle. Use Byron for 10% off. Grayman & Company, the most comfortable tactical suits in the game. Use Byron for 10% off with them. Until the next podcast, this is Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade. Out.